This is about murder and horror. I read a book entitled Killings by Calvin Trillin, and because of that I got another book, True Crime, subtitled 350 Years of Brilliant Writing About Dark Deeds. I'm in the midst of it now. Not all of the writing is brilliant. The first pieces, the earliest ones, including the execution of a man who came over on the Mayflower, were using the crimes as abject lessons in sinfulness and morality. The ones I'm reading now have abandoned the pulpit and the righteous lessons we might learn, and either simply deplore the murders or revel in them. Hold up each gory detail until a reader feels a fervent need for cleansing. I'll probably keep reading. It's a big, long book, so I'm steeped in murders. I had that thought, and then I thought, what the hell? I'm steeped in murders anyway. Our local news is one murder after another, murders piled up on murder. And so is yours, no matter where you live. Murder is not extraordinary. It's common as toast. I thought I'd relate the most lurid of the latest pack of them here. So mind you, I'm skipping all of the ho-hum, let's call them background count murders, the ones that happen every day, without much fuss or fanfare, yet they are still murder. The headline murders come with a story, and the deeper and juicier the story, the greater the interest. The murders that follow, and they were being reported simultaneously, so they were, in a sense, competing, had more story than I can relate here, but I'll supply the highlights so you can get a sense of them. And one more thing. When these murders blow over, so to speak, you can be sure that others will pop up to take their place. I said before, after Trillin, that reporters love murder, and they do, because it's life and death, the information will be shocking, or what they call sensational, and finally, there's no end to their supply. Slow news day, no sweat. You can always count on a murder or two. The first one is bad. I can see this one on Law & Order Special Victims Unit, the way the crime unfolds, getting more repulsive for each commercial break. A teenage girl, a cheerleader, gave birth. Apparently no one else knew she was pregnant. The stories here diverge and somewhat awkwardly intertwine. Her lawyer says the baby was stillborn, dead at birth. Very few people believe this, but they're sticking to it. The prosecutor may have contrary forensic evidence. She may have killed it, dismembered it, and burned it, then buried it in her backyard. The lawyer said she performed some kind of funeral ritual with the fire and buried the remains. The case has not yet come to trial. Then there's the young woman who shot her boyfriend to death. One story has it that he was an attorney, ambitious, and he was trying to dump her. She claims that he threatened her, and so she shot him with his gun 6 times, including one in the nose for the rhinoplasty he was considering. This was a trial that was enlivened with salacious testimony about sex and the violent death. And then she had to be retried after being found guilty because a juror in the first trial had an undisclosed felony conviction. So roll the sex parade out again, along with the 6 bullets she pumped into him, including the one in the nose. Guilty again. Nearly an afterthought was a parole hearing. The convict was a man who had murdered several women and burned their bodies. It was believed that he had raped them before he killed them, but the condition of their bodies prevented a positive determination of that. The families of the victims protested his release publicly and vehemently. Parole denied. There was a man in one of the Carolinas who had an extensive history of severe mental problems, sometimes accompanied with fits of rage. Somehow, for some reason, he came to this city, acquired a lot of firepower, walked into a bank one morning and started shooting. He killed 3 people, wounding several more before police killed him. Videotape shows he was intent on killing. Several hundred rounds of ammunition remained after he was dead. One of the women he injured was shot 12 times. In a media conference, the county coroner called it horrifying. I agree. I've never liked Stephen King's horror stories. Horror? You don't have to make it up. You don't have to embellish the facts. We are steeped in murder, and this is plenty of horror for me.